sugar. You can see the fun part, and then they have to go learn math with their teacher. So I really enjoy teaching this subject especially. And most of our tours are fossils, geology-based, and First Nations. First Nations is huge.
Yeah, I would say most of our cultural tours, First Nations.
Completely. But then there's always the random request for, especially if we've been to the museum and seen the Pacific Voices exhibit, it has cultures from all over the Pacific Rim. So we do get requests for just the world cultures as well, like Japan, and we have New Zealand exhibits. So, I mean, any knowledge is always helpful of just general cultures.
Yeah.
So it's enjoyable.
Yeah, in fact, we have a couple of Hawaiian students right now who are, well, I mean, they're UW students, but they're originally from Hawaii. And they said, you know, it's interesting because we were originally interested because there's a Hawaiian display case in there that's interesting to us because we can relate to that. But at the same time, what we're learning in these First Nations tours, it's a different culture, but we see lots of similarities.
Yeah.
And so that's really interesting to them, they said. So different people latch onto it for different reasons.
Any other questions, though?
So if you do develop more questions, because the good ones always come into your head when you're lying in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
We have literature. We have lots of literature. One is kind of, and you're welcome to help yourselves to as much great variety as you want. One is just like a little flyer, little pamphlet that has, it's kind of an outdated tour schedule, but it's like a thumbnail sketch of all the little programs that we offer. Well, they're not little, all the different programs we offer. So that kind of gives you a thumbnail sketch. Those green sheets just give you a little more information about what tours are offered, and that's something that we normally give out to teachers or potential clients.
Yeah.
But so that might be interesting if you're thinking about volunteering with us for tours. You get a little more sense of what's involved. And then some general, and then my card is also there with my email and phone. So if you say, you know, I thought about it, or got more questions, or I know somebody or something, feel free to take a card and contact me later. And then some general Burke literature. There's actually a membership pamphlet. We have to, you know, proselytize. And even though students get in free, I think student membership's like $10 or something annually. And so you get a few extra perks, like for instance, every spring, about every April, about the third week of April. Yeah, this year's 20th, 21st. There's a members behind the scenes night where the members get to go into the collections, all the stuff that's not on display. And it's just, they throw the doors open, and it's after hours, so it's not just anybody, it's members only. And I have to say that's one of the biggest perks of membership. That, and you get a discount in the cafe.
It's like we can to see all that.
There's a lot of other perks as well, but you just kind of get, especially if you're interested in museums and how they work and that sort of thing, that might be a worthwhile investment. And then we have some general brochures on the museum. We also have, the Burke sponsors a trivia night at College Inn, so if you're of legal drinking age and you like trivia in cultural and in natural history, I haven't been yet, but I hear it's a great time. I was just talking to a student who'd been, and his specialty's in geology, and he said so he had no trouble with that, but then all the cultural questions, he was like, and then we also have just a flyer with our current exhibits, and you're welcome to take that, and upcoming events. So that doesn't really have anything to do with volunteering per se. But we'd love it if you came and visited us. Some things that might be interesting to people with an anthropological bent are the Islandwood and National Geographic Film Festival. That is February 20th through that weekend. I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And these are really cool films made by indigenous people around the world, indigenous filmmakers, telling stories that they feel are important from a perspective that you might not hear otherwise in mainstream cultures. How to Build a Dinosaur Day. And Louise Leakey is speaking tomorrow. I think so. You guys have probably heard that. Maybe someone's announced it in their classes. So yeah.
With the membership perk, you get to see Morgan, he for the last 5 minutes what's his name is, but he's held at the Burke Museum.
Oh, Kennewick Man.
Oh.
That's the nickname he gets, Kennewick
Yes,
Man. We don't even get to see Kennewick Man.
No one can see him.
But the deal with Kennewick Man, basically, you can find out more about him on the Burke website. There's a whole bunch of stuff when you go into the archaeology collections. In fact, let me show you. I have this here.
And we could just go on.
But basically, our relationship as the Burke Museum to Kennewick Man is that we're like a neutral
We're
place.
a locker.
Yeah, we're the place he is kept, and so since he is such a sensitive issue for different groups of people for different reasons, we're just kind of the place that holds him in trust for all those groups of people, and then they can apply to do research with him or visit him or whatever they feel needs to be done with those remains. But as far as like, we don't, and so I don't even know where he is in the building.
Yeah.
It's a pretty highly secure thing. So our official role is we're a neutral repository for him.
He's there.
But he's there somewhere. But there we have so many other cool things that.
What's the size of your collection? Do you know
Oh,
how many?
boy.
12.5 million.
Yeah, wow.
Like
Because
billions.
we just got the fish collection on
Yeah,
the
ichthyology. Yeah.
and
yeah.
they bumped it up from like we had 6.5 and then they bumped it up to 12 million.
Yeah, because on top of like
every itty bitty fish.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's not all stored in one building either. Like
No.
ichthyology is down in fisheries.
And the herbarium.
Yeah, and
Plant
the herbarium is not in the building proper, but okay.
Close.
Just show you the website quick. You think I know the URL by heart, but I don't. Okay, so just, you can go on our website. Here's our education page. It gives you more information about like what tours we normally do, and there's all kinds of things. This is mostly set up for teachers, but it's a real good way for you to get a sense of what we offer. Our collections, we've got curators with all of these different collections of archaeology, ethnology, and they are UW faculty, so they have like half of their job is in the geology, ESS or whatever, geology department, whatever, anthropology department. Peter Lake is the curator of archaeology. Dina Dart-Newton is our new curator of Native American ethnology, so you may have taken classes from some of these people. But they have like a 50% of their job is in the UW department, and the other 50% is managing the part of the collections they oversee at the Burke Museum. So all of these are great. You can click on any of these collections. Let's do ethnology, for instance. And you can search the ethnology collection. So say you wanted to know more about, Bentwood box. It would come up with, and so this is a way of actually seeing a lot of things that aren't necessarily on display either. So that's kind of a nice thing to know for those little research projects that you in the future. And then you can actually refine the search. Like say you just wanted to know more about Tlingit boxes, and then you could say that, and so on. So it's a fun site to noodle around on, just because there's a lot of information on there. And then for the question about Kennewick Man, who his name depends on who's talking about him. We call him Kennewick Man. Other people call him the Ancient One. But here's a whole portal to Kennewick Man. Yes, it's everything like the chronology of the discovery, because his discovery was accidental, and I remember being around when it happened, and it was yeah. So there's lots of resources on this page. But yeah, sadly we can't see it. Or let me say this: if you come up with some kind of research project, you might be able to see them. I think Doug Owsley from the Smithsonian managed to. So get on with that, and you'll see them. So anyway, but our website.